Welcome to the Indie Beacon Show, where readers can discover great new indie authors. Find us on all major podcast systems and YouTube. Join Mary Ann Faremouth on today's show.
Welcome to the Indie Beacon Radio Show, a division of Authors Marketing International, an organization that supports authors and writers all over the world. Tonight, I have the distinct honor and pleasure of visiting with an author, editor, publisher that I have had personal experience with that I believe is a big part of why my writing and my book products have won so many awards. Theodore Neurotic Tinker, known to many as Tod Tinker, is an award-winning trans author, editor, and word builder. Words and worlds are his passion. Quality and consistency, his goal. He's also the CFO and managing editor of Balance of Seven, a small press whose mission is to keep the magic in publishing. Let me have the pleasure of introducing you to Tod Tinker. Say hello to everybody, Tod.
Hey, Marianne. Hey, everyone. Thank you for having me. Me too.
Great to have you with us. You're an award-winning author, Tod, and you've written a lot of different things, but tell us the kind of stories that you write.
So I write a lot of spiritual spec fic, so spiritual fantasy, spiritual sci-fi. I focus heavily on both the internal journey of the characters as well as the external, but with the external, I focus a lot on building the world and building the physical world, building the cultures of the characters that the characters live in, and these kinds of things. It helps with motivations and such.
Okay, but you're more than just a writer, though. I want to say, Tod, back in 2000, I think it was 15, when I was thinking about writing and I was taking lots of classes in writing, and I had my first draft just about done. I met you through some of the organizations, the writing organizations that I'm involved with. And the thing that's so neat about you, Tod, is that you took the time to sit down with me and really understand what I was trying to get out there. Mm-hmm. And I think that's so important because I think when an editor especially, can learn about their client and understand their voice and then project it, I think that's wonderful. So tell us a little bit about the services, the many services that you offer, because you do so many different cool things.
So as an editor, I offer basically the range of editing services, or I can do the range of editing services anywhere from developmental editing, which is the more broad, looking at consistency, looking at timeline, looking for plot holes, those kinds of things for the larger story, and all the way through copy editing, which is what a lot of authors will think, a lot of writers will think about when thinking of editing, which is the grammatical and punctuation and spelling. There is flow involved in that, making sure we focus on making sure we keep the author's voice, all the way to formatting and proofreading, which I do mostly for Balance of Seven. But for services that I offer freelance, I do heavily on the developmental side and small copy editing. So for like short stories, articles, those kinds of things. And for developmental editing, I offer full manuscript developmental editing, which would be where I would read through a completed manuscript, and basically my feedback oftentimes comes in the form of questions, talking about consistency, about timeline, about making sure things are understood, making sure the reader can understand what the writer is trying to say, and those kinds of things throughout the manuscript. Or I also offer what I call developmental conversations, which is more it can happen throughout any time in the writing process, and is basically when a writer is stuck on their story, whether that's they find a road, they're hitting writer's block on a story, or they just don't know the next turn to take, or where they might be going with a story in general, what they might want to do, to what kind of how they might want to process the story. And that's basically, I sit down and ask them about the story, ask them about the world that they're building the story in, and we can find the themes that they're looking for, or what kinds of ways we can form the story that best tells it the way they're looking for it.
Well, I certainly can vouch for what you do, and I don't think you're a typical editor. I have worked with several editors, and I think, Tod, what sets you apart is that you really try to understand and get the writer, get what they're doing. I mean, I'm a multi-genre writer. My forte mainly is nonfiction. My 2 books that are out are mainly nonfiction, but I've also, written 2 short stories that are fiction, and I'm about to write a magical urban fiction story, magical fiction, fantasy, urban fantasy. But I think the thing that sets you apart is that you take the time to get to know the writer. You take the time to get to know who they are. Like I was telling somebody today, Tod gets me. Tod gets me. Okay. And I think that for an editor to really understand that writer and what that writer's trying to get across, I mean, the thing that's really important to me in my writing is all about, alignment, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. It's about getting into alignment. And I think you have that mastered. Tell us a little bit about that.
So like you introduced me, quality and consistency are my goal. So, and when I talk about quality, I'm not thinking it has to be perfect. I'm thinking I want it to match what the writer what the writer's dream is. I'm trying to make their work shine. A lot of writers view editing as a tearing down process. And for me, to me, editing is a conversation. It's not about a hard set rules as much as this is the voice of the writer. This is the style that they're writing in, and this is what they're trying to get across. And I want to make sure that the reader can understand it properly, that everything that's trying to get across gets across, and just basically buffing your story, make it shine kind of thing. But yeah, so editing is a conversation, and I want to make sure that the people I work with feel like they're being heard both in their story and both in their voice and in the story that's coming across.
Well, I certainly agree with that. And I can't tell you how refreshing it is to work with someone that doesn't want to change everything I do or chop it up or change it, that wants to just embellish it and get it out there and make it better. And I know you're also a part of a small press, and that's called Balance of 7. Mm-hmm. What type of books do you publish, Tod?
So we look at diversity and at the magic of the story. And it's we're trying to settle our brand right now, but we've kind of settled on diversity as magic. But the magic of the story is not necessarily fantasy or sci-fi or anything, but it's the soul of the story. It's what you find in the characters and the heart of the story and the themes that you're trying to tell. And we don't necessarily stick to one genre, because we have several books that we consider cross genre. We have a time travel military lesbian fiction. We've got a women's fiction crossed with more, and of course I'm going to forget the word, but more dreamlike. And I'm bummed that I can't remember the word, because I love she's got this kind of dreamlike quality to her writing. And then we've got what we call rock fiction, because this author is heavy in music, and she makes a lot of music references, just like subtle music references in her story. So it's like we don't stick to specific genres. We aim for diverse voices, diverse characters. Since the beginning of Balance of Seven, we've done a lot with female main characters. One of our first, a couple of, we have a lot of anthologies that we do, and we have a set of dragon anthologies called Dragons Within that don't necessarily that the stories don't necessarily feature actual dragons, but female characters that embody ideas of dragons.
Well, let's hold that thought. I love that we're ending on dragons because I think it's so cool. And let's give our sponsors a chance to talk about what they do. We'll be right back.
Hello, I am the author Denise Bryson. My first book is The Things That Cross My Mind, Inspirational Poetry with Life Lessons. And then my audio book is Love's Reality. And it is also inspirational poetry with a jazzy flair. And then my new book is The Sex, the Lies, and the Soul Ties. They're really short stories written from a poetic expression. And then I have my first children's book series, the Blinky series, which the first book is called Meet the Coins, and it is both in English and Spanish. And then the new book From Coins to Bills. I am the author, Denise Bryson.
Mary Ann Faremouth is a career consultant with 30 years experience in the national recruiting world, a multi-award winning author in multi-genres, and a speaker that gives presentations to help you succeed. Her book, Revolutionary Recruiting, made the top 20 global list of recruiting books. Find her on Amazon, your favorite bookstore, or at fairmouth.com.
To embrace your children's imagination, check out Diane Floyd Bame's books for kids. There's The Moonling Adventures, all about the animals in the Serengeti. And then there's Harry the Camel, learning to love yourself just the way you are. Then The Little Girl in the Moon. There's one about friendship, another one about the big ideas, which is an inspirational story. And then Tour Tycho Town, right there in Tycho Crater on the moon. All of Diane Floyd Bame's books are available at B4R Store.
Welcome to the Indie Beacon Show, where readers can discover great new indie authors. Find us on all major podcast systems and YouTube. Join Mary Ann Faremouth on today's show.
Welcome back to the Indie Beacon Radio Show, division of Authors Marketing International. My name is Mary Ann Faremouth. I'm your host for this evening's episode. And we have the pleasure of talking to Tod Tinker, a very, very, in my opinion, exceptional author, editor, and publisher. Tod, welcome back. We were talking before we broke for the break about what you do with your Balance of Seven, and you referred to what we do. What does that mean, Tod?
So I am the co-owner of this press. I work with Ines Freeman, and she's the CEO and publisher. I'm the CFO and managing editor. But so the two of us, we started this in 2018, and basically our goal was to get voices out there that aren't often heard or often turned away. I know one of our authors was rejected by agents because they didn't want such a sad story, but it was more than just a sad story. It was about two women finding their way past grief, finding their way to life beyond grief, and the journey of that, and how their lives interacted in that. We have the military time travel lesbian fic that I mentioned is written by a woman who has been acknowledged as the first lesbian Armenian American novelist, and that she's been acknowledged as that by the Armenian American Library. There's we have it on our website. I don't remember the exact wording.
I think that's so cool though about what you do, Tod, is that in a lot of ways, it's similar to what I do in that as a career recruiter, a career counselor, a career coach, I'm helping people become their best self, whatever that means. All right. And if you become your best self, then you can align yourself with a career that is purposeful, that helps you get out who you are and feel fulfilled. And what you're doing in what you do as an author, an editor, and publisher is you're working with people to help them become their best self, even though there might be some challenges along the way. And I have such high regard for that, because I think this world, especially after COVID, I think we all stopped in our tracks and said, like the song, where do we go from here? What more is there? Or what do I want to do with my life? And I think what the beauty of what you do, for me anyway, is that you say, you know what, be who you are and let's make the best of it. I mean, isn't that what you do, Todd?
Yeah, it's so helping the writer. I like to help the writers find themselves in their stories, to find what the story is truly about. That's one of the reasons, especially with the developmental conversations I do, I like to dive into what the themes of the story are. What is the story all about? Oftentimes it's not about the surface story. It's not about that quest that this character is going on. It's about finding their family, or trying to figure out who they are, or making a place for themselves in society, or just figuring out what the definition of love is, or the definition of family is. And so that and oftentimes the journey of the author can be found in that story. My own works have that as well.
All right, now if someone is, say it's a writer that is writing, for example, I mean, I can relate to my own situation. I had 4 deaths in a period of 3 years, and I took my first writing course, which was called Writing for Healing. And I wrote my book initially, or I started writing for a healing exercise. But it was, I wasn't intending to get a book out of it, but it was a healing exercise that I felt, well, I can't bring these people back, but maybe I can help others not go through what I did if I write this book. And that's why I wrote it. But for example, Todd, if somebody's writing and a little apprehensive about the subject matter, or, is it going to be well received? Is a press like yours one that would be helpful to someone, an author like that, or a writer like that?
Quite possibly. It's we, as most presses, we look at each book individually as it's passed to us. We look at the story. We look at the story of the author. We want to get people's voices out there, especially especially those who are not necessarily heard. We do a lot of work with LGBTQ people. We've been trying to build up our BIPOC authorship, and so getting those people that don't feel like they can be heard.
I think that, yeah, that's wonderful. And the thing that's so wonderful about working with someone like you is that you're so multifaceted. So if they come to you and they say, as a developmental editor, Todd, I don't know that this story has got any value. What do you think? You can look at it and say, I think it does, but maybe we need to change it a little bit, like over here, or maybe you need to focus more over here.
So you talk about value in a story. And to me, all stories are valuable. It's finding how they're presented, how to present it that it gets that value out. And makes it so that the reader can find it and read it, or can understand it and feel it within themselves. I have kind of a measurement. If a story makes me cry at any point, it's a hell yes.
I love that. And tell us about this new book you've got. You've got a new book out. Are you writing you have a book that's about how to edit for world building, isn't that right?
Yeah. So as you said in my bio, I'm an author, editor, and world builder, as well as a publisher. And world building basically soaks into everything I do, my writing and my editing. So this is actually the first book of what I'm hoping to be a series of 5 books. The series would be Fiction Tinker's Guide, where this book is Fiction Tinker's Guide to Whimsical Worlds. And so this one is focused solely on world building. And I break down world building into a roadmap of what I call N Persia, and where you travels through different sections of a culture and world to be able to figure out figure out how your people in this world would live, how your characters within these societies would react and act, what their motivations would be. So for me, world building is the fundamentals. It helps you understand the motivations of your different people, the motivations of individuals.
Well, I think that's wonderful. I think that, what I have found in working with you is that you really take the time to understand the writer, to understand the author. And, there's a lot of editors out there, but what I've experienced is that they want to come in and put their stamp on what I write, not necessarily want to keep my voice. And that's so important, I think, to an author. And I think that's one of the wonderful qualities. The other thing I have to say, Tod, it took me 4 years to write my first book, and I kept saying to my developmental editor, to you, I don't think it has enough meat to it. I don't think it has enough meat to it. I need to do more and more. And finally, at one point, I remember you said to me, Marianne, it has meat. It's good. Let's go. Remember? And that was like, but it was like that validation of, this is good. You got something good here. We just need to polish it a little bit. And I think for a lot of writers that are apprehensive, having an editor like that helps you go to the next step and get it out there, I think that's important, because being a writer, being an author, it's kind of a vulnerable place to be, don't you think, Tod?
Oh yeah, I've been in all parts of all the shoes of this journey. So yeah, I definitely understand the vulnerability of it. I have 3 books published. Well, I have 3 fiction books published. I have one editing book published, and I put out a short story every month on my Patreon page, and it at the beginning it was definitely, is this something I want to do? Is this are people going to even want to be interested in this? And over time, it's finding your community, finding yourself, finding how you want to present yourself, because I also talk about with people about the author persona. So
well, I'm thrilled. I mean, I cannot say how much I appreciate you and what you do and how talented and gifted you are. But let's take a little break and let our sponsors do their thing, and we'll come right back.
Publishing marketing package for authors. A $1,500 value, save 40% now. Includes a 6-piece marketing kit of 250 bookmarks, 250 business cards, 250 postcards, 1 table banner, 1 table runner, and 50 download cards, plus book cover design, ebook creation, PDF setups, upload to Ingram Spark, scroll placement, video commercial, and interview on IBS. Plus much more. Email bourgeoismedia@look.com for details, or bourgeoismedia.com.
Hi, I'm Mel Greenberg, author of Running with Our Eyes Closed, Book 1 in the Empty Nested series. To the world, Samantha has the perfect life. 3 wonderful children, a loving husband, so she thought, and a life split between Dallas and Italy. When her youngest leaves for college, it all comes crashing down, forcing Samantha to re-examine everything. Over 7 days in one of the most romantic countries in the world, Samantha faces the past she thought she'd overcome and begins to redefine her role as a woman, a wife, and a mother.
What would you do if you had to put your life on hold to care for a loved one? Well, during COVID, almost all of us have been doing just that. I'm Charlotte Canyon, award-winning author, actress, and speaker. And my book, You Have to Laugh to Keep from Crying, shows you how you can revive, thrive, and survive with 4 golden rules. You have to love one another. You have to respect one another. You have to have patience with one another. And most of all, you've got to forgive one another. I'm Charlotte Canyon, and I approve this message.
Welcome to the Indie Beacon Show, where readers can discover great new indie authors. Find us on all major podcast systems and YouTube. Join Mary Ann Faremouth on today's show.
Welcome back to Indie Beacon Radio, a division of Authors Marketing International. My name is Mary Ann Faremouth, and I have the distinct honor and pleasure tonight of talking to Tod Tinker, an author, a world builder, an editor, a publisher, someone that I personally have worked with, and because of that association, I have received many awards on my writing projects. Before the break, Todd, we were talking about how you work with people and really help them expand their work and really make the best of what they're trying to promote out there and write and do. Tell us, for people out there listening, for writers and authors, if they're looking for a developmental editor or a copyright editor or even a writing coach, how do they get a hold of you?
So you can always reach me at my email address, which is tnttinker@balanceof7.com. You can also follow me on social media. I'm on Facebook and Twitter. Both my author side is Theodore N. Tinker, and then my editor side is TN Tinker Editing. And if you really want to engage with me a lot, I do a lot of my stuff I have a Facebook group that is called Fiction Tinkers Guild, that I do a lot of. I do a monthly world building interview where you can see me interview either other authors or subject matter experts and about different things to tie into world building. I tie in there with my monthly short stories, and also I do a world building book review every month where the book is chosen by the community. And I read a book and then do a review on the actual world building in the story to show how the author portrayed their world in their books.
Well, Todd, I cannot tell you how grateful I am that you took the time to be with us today. I am one of your biggest fans. I think you are amazing at what you do. So if you're looking for a copy editor or a developmental editor, or just a wonderful person that will listen if you're thinking about writing, please get a hold of Tod Tinker. You won't be sorry. He's amazing. He's really helped me grow in so many ways, and he's just a wonderful person. So thank you, Todd. It's been my pleasure tonight. My name is Ann Faremouth. This is Indie Beacon Radio, and we're thrilled to have you with us. Please go to our website at authorsmarketing.org and learn about our wonderful conference coming up the latter part July. It'll have amazing speakers, amazing classes, amazing information that you don't want to miss. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching or listening to the Indie Beacon Show, produced by Beyond Bourgeois for the Authors Marketing International LLC. Copyright 2021. Voiceover by Beyond Bourgeois. If you would like to be a sponsor of the show, please email us at authorsmarketing@outlook.com. If you would like to be on the show, please complete the form found on our website at indiebeacon.com. You may also watch previous year's shows on the website. Music is Frolic of Words, created for Indie Beacon